Namaste, Jai Bharat. Emergency declared in America for 19 states. Prima facie, I would say, it's karma. It's karma not for the tariffs. It's karma for what the Americans were doing explicitly or implicitly, mostly implicitly, in other places. We are concerned, I'm concerned about my nation. What have, what are the things uh, those went on prior to the last elections? How the mandate we expected, as we expected, did not happen. When you study that, when you go deeper into that, we will know the foul play by definite people, not indefinite people, and the way our oppositions were dancing according to their tunes. Same thing is happening in America now. They had to declare emergency. The army had to be called out of the barracks. The opposition there is doing quite a few things, and how who is manipulating the oppositions has to be understood and seen. I won't speculate. It's for each of you to understand and speculate if you must. It's not just the tariff, but then it is the impact of the tariff in a different way. We call it as karma. Hindus do call it as karma. And the Upanishads speak about it as vasana, impressions. See, the impressions remains. Even if the person ceases to exist, the impressions remains. Later, the vasana concept was carried forward by Buddhism as praditya samappada. They were trying to, Buddhism is, the Buddhist scholars were trying to explain birth rebirth cycle, that's rebirth itself, through this concept of praditya samappada, which is roughly translated into English as dependent origination. It needs explanation for people those who don't understand it. And the cycle continues. Because Buddhism doesn't believe in a concept, it doesn't have a concept of soul. And the problem is once you don't have a concept of soul, how rebirth happens. In order to explain that, the Buddhist scholars took refuge in Upanishads and brought out the Vasana principle to create a Praditya Samutpada, which of course gets translated into English as Praditya Samutpada, as in Sanskrit. If it is in Pali, it is Praditya Samutpada. So let's call it as karma. You, you had no regrets or remorse in destabilizing other states. I heard people speaking about the death of children in Ukraine, people, but who actually is responsible? And people wanted to accuse those who buy oil or anything from Russia, or those who give money to Russia, those who do trade with Russia. They are responsible for the killing of people in Russia, in Ukraine, innocent people. But are you really saying that such people are responsible? Who really is responsible for the war between Ukraine and Russia? What were the what were the movements behind that? Who were the pawns in that? Who were the other aspects? People, not people, thoughts, agencies who wanted Ukraine to dance according to their tunes, they are the real people who are responsible for whatever you are trying to accuse on others. That's not just double standards. It's just not just self-defeating. It's ridiculously shameful such things. But then people, those who do such things, don't have that word shame in the dictionary, so just forget about it. So US has the karma operating on them now, right now. Emergency had to be declared The army had to be called out of the barracks, and there is anarchy on the street. Incidents of looting, arson, etc., seem to be coming out. The news at least suggests so, with all kinds of whatever reasons maybe, whatever maybe the reasons behind it. Whether it is throwing out of illegal immigrants, I support throwing out of illegal immigrants in any case of any country. You just get into a nation without any permission and start creating problems there afterwards. Throwing them out, of course, any nation will have to do it. That's natural. You can't accuse them for that. But that nation's karma, of whatever they have done to others, will hunt them back. Somebody wanted to go to heaven. Of course, we don't believe in a concept of heaven, Father. We don't also believe in a concept of hell. That's the Semitic kind of beliefs. We believe in this. There's a word equivalent to a synonym. This word synonym, rather synonym, questionable, to heaven in Sanskrit. That's Swarga, but Swarga is not the kind of place as is explained or illustrated in a concept of heaven, because Swarga is a place where human beings don't live. Swarga is a place where the gods, goddesses in small g lives. We call it as Devaloka, the world of the gods and goddesses, small g, and they have a system of governance. They have a leader, a king. That's Devrajindra, and of course they also have an army, and the army chief is none other than son of Shiva, Kartikeya, who is also called as Subramanya, and in south Murika. So different. That's how we understand things. You think you understand Swarga by just calling it as heaven. Certainly not. The concepts are different. Look at the concept of hell in Semitic traditions. You have a definite picture of hell, but we have a concept of Naraka, and people treat it as hell, but which is not the case. Naraka is Naraka. That is, for the Indian Bharatiya concept of Naraka is where lawlessness prevails. Law and order doesn't exist. Whatever negative forces are there operates there. That's what really makes it as Naraka, not a place where you get the dead people to torture because they disobeyed God. We don't have a God concept of that nature. We have concepts of gods and goddesses, that is small g. If you want to talk about a single originator or things like that, we have a concept of one reality. That's not God. That's not he. That's not she. That's it. So yours is facing karma. No comments otherwise. We shall meet again. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Siya Ram.